No kiddos are allowed in my lab. This is for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gavin. Thank you so much for being here. I am grateful that we can spend a little time together. So glad that you would tune in. I'm very sorry about what's happening with my sinuses and my throat. I sound, you know what I should do is should go down to a New York City coffee bar and sing Smelly Cat, because that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. I'm sucking on a lozenge, trying to uh trying to not die here. You guys noticed how gray I am? Oh my goodness. Okay. That is just, yeah, those are just gray whiskers. It looks like there's something. I'm old. Doesn't matter. Let's get into this, okay? We are going to dive into the tail end of the case of the murder of Xana Kernodle, 20 years old, Ethan Chapin, age 20, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonsalves, both 21, also known as the Idaho Four. They were murdered on November 13th, 2022. The man that has been charged, and they were all murdered inside the house that they shared. I don't think Ethan wasn't, but you know, the three girls shared. The person that was arrested for this, Brian Koberger, the main news that's happening right now is he apparently is ready to plead guilty. And by doing so, he will give up his right to appeal, and the state will give up their right to the DP. This is causing a lot of people consternation. And we talked about it a little bit last night with Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. But I want to get into a little bit of what's going on here, and that is that at least one family, but more than likely the families of the victims, again, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, they're not happy about this at all. And I don't blame them one bit for not being happy. I want to show you a couple things that we will read together. First, this is from yesterday. I'll bring you over here. This is a statement on the Gonsalves family Facebook page. Of course, the father of Kaylee went on NBC and he kind of went on a tirade, and I don't blame him, but this is a clarification. Then we're going to get into exactly what he said. Okay. I would like to clarify a couple things. We did talk to the prosecution on Friday about the possibility of a plea deal, and it was a hard no from our family. It was very nonchalant and barely discussed, as the majority of the conversation was surrounding the upcoming trial. Nothing in our conversation prepared us for the next steps. Sunday night, we received an email that sent us scrambling. We immediately jumped into panic mode and started making phone calls and sending emails. We met with prosecution again today to reiterate our views on pushing for the DP. Unfortunately, all of our efforts did not matter. We did our best. We fought harder than anyone could ever imagine. Please do not argue or try to tell us that we should have done this or that. We gave it 200% for the last 2 years and 7 months. One day we will tell you all what we have really been through from day one. You will all be shocked. We fought a long battle, but we lost the war. We did gain an army of love that we know will always stand by us. We have so much love for each and every one of you. You all gave us strength when we felt like we couldn't take another step, called us off the ledge when we were ready to wave the white flag, and most importantly, prayed for us when we were in utter despair and hopelessness. So much love to all of you, the Gonsalves family. Okay, so this begs the question, guys, and I think most of us know the answer here. Do the families get a say in how the prosecution prosecutes the case? The answer is no, they don't get a say at all. Like, I sometimes there is an illusion of the family getting a say, but they don't get a say. And it's one of the things that maybe bothers me a little bit about our legal system is this whole idea that there will be a facade of we want to do, we meaning the prosecution, want to do for you what it is that you want, the justice you want for your loved one, dear family of a victim. But it doesn't, they, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the family wants. It only matters what the prosecutor wants. Now, the prosecutor has a code of ethics, and I honestly think that it's probably best that we have a prosecutor decide how they want to prosecute the case. But I do hate that facade, that illusion that they care about what the family wants. I think on maybe on a personal level, each prosecutor, on a personal level, they care. But legally speaking, I'm saying for the coming to a resolution of a case, it doesn't matter. And I mean, I have a pretty I'm I'm acquainted with a guy that we're neighbors. He's a good guy. I like him. I don't know that we would call each other friends, but I like him a lot. And he works in victim services in the local courthouse. And he is a person who is a very empathetic, sympathetic person. And people who I've talked to who are victims, who are family members of victims of violent crime in our area, sing his praises. And each court has that. Each prosecution's office does have those victims services folks. But honestly, like I can't say this enough. It just doesn't matter what the family wants. Sucks, but that's the way it is. Okay, come with me over here to an article from the Idaho Statesman. Beyond furious, Idaho murder suspect Brian Koberger accepts plea deal. This was last updated today around noon. Brian Koberger, the suspect in a highly anticipated murder trial who is accused of killing 4 Idaho college students, has accepted a deal to plead guilty. A victim's family member told the Idaho Statesman that they received a letter from the prosecution and provided a copy of that letter to the Statesman, confirming the agreement. The plea deal was first reported by News Nation on Monday afternoon. Koberger, 30, was arrested at the end of 2022 and accused of fatally stabbing the University of Idaho students in November that year in an off campus Moscow home. He faced 4 first degree murder charges and, if convicted, could have been sentenced to the DP in a trial that was slated to have opening statements on August 18th. Families of the victims met with prosecutors last week to discuss the possibility of a plea deal, which the prosecution in the letter said weighed heavily on the decision-making process. I do not believe that one bit. We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family, read the letter, signed by Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings, his senior deputy. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals. Okay, I want to pause there for a second, okay? These 2 people, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, are probably sincere here. But I really hate it when they use an excuse as we want to spare you the years or decades of the appellate process. It very well could be that the family of these victims were looking forward to that. We're going to use it as their fuel to seek justice for their daughter, and that has been taken away. I really hate it when prosecutors say that. I just don't want to put the family through that. What if the family wants to go through it? So I wish they wouldn't use excuses like that. I just wish they wouldn't use them at all. It drives me crazy. Okay, the victims were seniors Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, both 21. junior Xana Kernodle 20, and freshman Ethan Chapin 20. The three women lived in the Moscow home with two female roommates who went unharmed in the attack early on a Sunday morning. Chapin was Kernodle's boyfriend and stayed over for the night. All four victims were students at the University of Idaho, while Kohberger was studying criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, a 15-minute drive from Moscow. The 30-month-long case, which thrust Idaho into the national spotlight, spanned several states as investigators searched for a suspect for nearly 7 weeks. They arrested Kohberger at his parents' home in Pennsylvania over Christmas break. By the way, there's still cases in Monroe County going forward against Brian Kohberger. I get notified of them all the time through the what is it called out here? The ACOP? I can't remember, the Judicial Systems Media Liaison. So anyway, because he was arrested out here, extradited back to Idaho. More than 100 law enforcement personnel assisted the local police force, including Idaho State Police, the FBI, and the Latah County Sheriff's Office. The plea deal. The defense requested an offer from the prosecution. We'll take the DP off the table in exchange for Kohberger pleading guilty to all charges, the 4 first-degree murder counts, and an additional charge of felony burglary. He's expected to appear at the Ada County Courthouse on Wednesday, tomorrow at 11 a.m., for a change of plea hearing, according to the letter sent to the families. A notice filed just before 3 p.m. Monday and publicized on the court's website Tuesday confirms that a hearing is scheduled. By the way, I am going to live stream that, guys. I'm now that thanks to you, I've updated my computer system. I feel like I've got enough power in the computer to be able to do that. So it's going to be at 12. I'm going to start at 12:45 Eastern time, which is oh my goodness, 10:45. Why am I having such a hard time? 10:45 Mountain Time. It starts at 11 Mountain. It starts at 1 o'clock my time. So join me. I'd love to have you join me for that. Okay. Getting back over here. Give me just a second. Yes, okay. 11 a.m. is when it starts. 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern. If Kohberger pleads guilty as expected, he'll likely be sentenced in late July, with the agreed upon sentence being life in prison according to the letter. If he doesn't, the trial would proceed as planned. As part of the plea deal, Kohberger will also have to waive his right to an appeal. That is true on any plea deal, by the way. He will never be eligible for parole. The trial court administrator and spokesperson for the Idaho court system declined to comment. When reached by phone, the Latah County prosecuting attorney's office also declined to comment, citing a gag order that has been in place for the case. The Gonsalves family members have been staunch advocates for the DP to be applied in the Kohberger case, while other families haven't been so outspoken. There's no equivalent aside from the DP for someone convicted of murder, Steve Gonsalves wrote in a text message to the Statesman in the days before the deal was reached. The more victims someone is accused of killing, he added, the further it should tip the scales to the DP is the only option. We are beyond furious that at the state of Idaho. They have failed us, the Gonsalves family posted on its Facebook page Monday afternoon. Hours later, the Gonsalveses reiterated their frustration with the prosecution. They said they had done everything they could to push for the DP for Kohberger, having fought harder than anyone could ever imagine. For Ben Mogan, Madison's father, the plea deal wasn't as upsetting. He told the Statesman that if avoiding a trial means his family can avoid reopening wounds that they've already worked toward healing, then he accepts the agreement. Stacy Chapin, the mother of Ethan Chapin, told KTVB that the family plans to be at the Boise hearing in support of the plea bargain. Still, the plea deal late in the process came as a surprise to even veterans in the legal field. Edwina Elcox is a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor in Boise. She said the writing was on the wall for Koberger in terms of the DP if a jury found him guilty of the killings and might have proved too big a risk and resulted in the change. That may have led to some additional conversations between the defense team and Koberger, Elcox told the Statesman by phone, over concerns that he could expect no other sentence with a conviction. These are dice I would not want to roll with a client, she said. Maybe you get an anti-DP juror, but you also may not. Given the story or the series of rulings against Koberger's attorneys, which includes several involving the effort to take DP off the table, removing the possibility of such a sentence is ultimately a victory for the defense, Elcox said. So, yeah, so I guess it's just the Gonsalveses that are upset at this. The Chapins, not so much. The Mogans, not so much. Of course, that leaves the Kernodles, and it didn't include what they thought. All right, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Remember to put GF in your comments if you want me to see them. I did post a poll before we began. It looks like, and the question was, should the state have pleaded out the case? 46 said yes, 54 said no. Very interesting how close that is. And I mean, for me, the no would come simply because of the desire to get the maximum penalty for me. I'm not putting words in your mouths, but very interesting. Typically, when we do a poll like this, it's 80-20 or 90-10. And so yeah, 46-54. Let's get over to your comments. I'm gonna go scroll all the way to the top. Hopefully it won't. Let's see. All right. Cosmic Thrifter says scattered grays look very distinguished with an ascot. Indeed, indeed. It is time to knock this beard down, though. It's getting a little long. Little long. Mama T says, hey, Gavin, because of Menendez, I do not believe the prosecution should have pled out the case. Life without the possibility of parole is no guarantee due to the possibility of laws changing in years to come if U.S. courts go to EU law. Yeah. Shay says, I'm so sick of plea deals. I feel they compromise justice. I don't blame the relatives for being upset. Let's bring up a picture here. One of the things that I was thinking is, first of all, I don't like pleas. I don't like plea deals at all. By the way, if you guys are hearing this, Autumn, we've got to meet up. I've got your magnet here. This is the Dom Luis Bridge. Kimberly and I walked across the top, then we went down and we walked across the bottom. Famous bridge in Porto. We got to get together so I can give you your what do you call it? Your memento. Anywho, I'll stop playing with that. Find something else to fidget with. I'm a fidgeter. I don't like the plea bargain system at all. It just bothers me. I feel like lawyers, like, their number one job, the thing that they're taught like day one of law school is, there's risk in going to trial. And all lawyers that I know are risk averse. They're just risk averse. And so I'm sure that the prosecution was like, it's risky to go to trial. We could have that one juror that gets him off. And then the defense is probably, it'd be really risky to go to trial. They could give you the DP. Let's get rid of that risk. Let's get a sure thing. So yeah, I don't like the whole plea bargaining deal. And 97% of cases end in a plea bargain here in my Commonwealth. I think it's probably similar throughout the nation. I would much rather say go to trial, go all the way to trial, and win or lose, you did your best. I would much rather have that. Susan Lewis says, I think it's interesting that the prosecution chose to do this once the judge shot down the defense's alternative perpetrator theory. Very interesting. Um, I should get some smellings. It's not that I'm stuffy, it's that I'm dry. It's really bad. Really bad, but I should get some of those. One man's trash. Gavin, what I don't understand is why do so much work, come so close to the trial, and then plea it out. All the work is done. I'm sure the cost is extreme for the trial, but the work, the proof is done. Actually, so not addressing the main point of your comment here first, the first addressing it has to do with cost. I honestly think that prosecutors' offices say, you know, if we get a guilty verdict and then the automatic appeals and we have to defend everything and blah, 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 it's going to cost us so much more money, or it's going to cost the state so much more money. I honestly think they take that into consideration. Let's get this thing done. And it won't drag out on our budgets or on the state's budget. I think that is the case. Um, so why do so much work, come so close to trial, and then plea it out? I think that Edwina Elcox hit the nail on the head when she was like, the writing was on the wall. The defense needed to do something. By the way, the defense requested the plea, requested an offer from the prosecution. The prosecution didn't have to give him one. Or the prosecution could have gone, you plead guilty. DP is still on the table, but we'll drop the burglary charge or something like that. Right? I know that the prosecutor's offices are under tremendous pressure by the court system to plea their cases. It sucks. Cassie says, I know that Kaylee and Xana's families have issued statements saying they're furious, but Ethan's and Madison's families have expressed support and their opinions are just as important. Indeed. Indeed. Lisa, the family deserves to see their day in court and have him convicted properly. None of this BS sparing stuff because they can literally not put them through the dumb process of fighting them. It's, yeah. Okay. Beach Fairy says, all a game to him. Now he still has control. It goes his way. The family gets dragged all through this while he claims innocence, then concedes at the last possible moment. He liked Bundy. It shows, Gavin. Actually, as I was reading the first part of your comment, I was thinking, ooh, I remember when Ted Bundy and then yeah, yeah. Very good comment. Crime and consequence. Gavin, it's long been my opinion that mass deaths should not be eligible for plea deals. If you're that messed up, why should our tax dollars pay for their support? Well, that's an interesting thought. Like, okay, you killed 4 people. Pleas are not on the table. That's an interesting thought. Interesting, interesting. Ah, Susan. Yes, I was going to bring this up. The judge can always reject the plea deal. That is true. So, yeah, the judge's responsibility is to ensure that the plea and the deal that they made is constitutional. If it's constitutional, they're ethically obligated to accept the plea. If they find anything questionable at all that questions the constitutionality of the agreement, the judge can reject the plea. So, say for example that there was this pressure campaign put on the judge to not accept the plea. The judge is on the bench and the judge sees the whole plea agreement and and knows that it's constitutional, but is getting a whole bunch of pressure from outside to not accept it. And say that judge doesn't accept it. Well, now you've got a judge that you don't want because you want a judge that will follow the Constitution. So it's pretty tough. It's a pretty tough position to be in, and my my hope, like, I don't want this to be plead out, but it's not like my opinion matters in all this. This is just me. But I don't want it to be plead out, so I'm hoping that there's some constitutional issue with the plea deal. That's what I'm hoping. Hoping, not hoping. Um, Beach Fairy, any prosecution worth their salt would see this case as a slam dunk. There's no way he'd get a not guilty verdict, especially after third party argument wasn't allowed. Possibly. Again, the risk aversion among legal professionals is great, is very high. They are risk averse. Um, I I would be curious to know, like, if I polled 100 other prosecutors, would they say I would take that plea? My guess is that there would be a lot that do. Oh, just refreshed. Let me scroll back up. Kelly says, I am torn about the plea deal, but at a minimum, I feel he should have to stand there in court and state what he did. I'm sure he will never tell why. Yeah, hmm, I don't think that, well, I mean, if they, I'm sorry, I'm going, bloop, 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 and my mind is racing. Um, I'm sure that they could, as part of the deal, say you have to tell the story, and that's part of the deal. But outside of a deal, a negotiation, I don't think they could enforce that. Very interesting. Gavin, this isn't a corruption thing, as some commentators or commenters are saying. It's a money thing, simple as that. I think the money has a lot to do with it. Yeah. Don't make the state pay so much for the rest of this guy's life. Sherry says, I wonder if prosecutors maybe did it for the other two roommates so they didn't have to relive this and go through the trial to testify. Prayers for all. I think that they say that out loud, and they may even personally believe it, but I don't think it's the reason that prosecutors take plea deals. I I think I think it's their risk aversion. That's what I do. Lisa, for me, it's the family's choice. If they all agreed, then I would have no issue with the plea, but it sounds like not all of them agree to life without parole over the DP. Yeah. Autumn knows. Here it is. Autumn, we got to get together. If you guys don't know this, our intrepid moderator, lead moderator, Autumn, we live in the same town. And we actually don't live very far from one another. It's probably like 4 blocks. So we just need to get together. It's funny. Okay, keep on going. Champagne problems. Idaho will already be strapped with Chad Daybell's appeals. Patty says, I understand why Koberger asked for a plea deal because they were down to nothing left. And this way, no appeals, but I was looking forward to the trial. I'm sorry. Now my mouth is all salivating. Jennifer, possibly unpopular opinion. Okay, everybody brace yourself. It's okay for people to have opinions that are different from yours. However, when the evidence slowly seeped out, Amazon searches, GPS information, and a potential eyewitness, I suspected he would seek a plea deal. Yeah, I mean, if I were in his position, which would never happen because I'm not a murderous scumbag, um, I may be scummy, I may be baggy, but I'm never murderous. um, I think I would plea it out. Sure. Spend the rest of my life in prison. All right, nifty 50-50. Does anyone know for sure if he has to tell the family why and how? Some are saying no, some are saying yes. Okay, this is what I go back to. A defendant never has to testify, can never be compelled to testify. If he is speaking in a hearing, it is technically testimony, unless it's some other venue. That's what I keep coming back to. So no, I do not think that he can be compelled to tell his side of the story unless he agrees to it in his pleading. If he negotiates with the prosecution, yes, I will plead guilty. Yes, I will tell the family why I did it. Then he would have to do it as part of his deal. But otherwise, I don't think so. Because he's protected by the 4th, 5th, 6th Amendments on that. Life without parole saves taxpayers money. It's more expensive to keep a prisoner on death row. Okay. Just refreshed again. A trial could never happen now that he has said he was guilty. Here's the thing. He hasn't said that he's guilty. That is tomorrow in a hearing. Now, here's the deal. Say he gets to his plea hearing. This happens. I don't know what the circumstances are, but say he gets to his plea hearing and he goes, "I plead guilty." And the judge says, "I accept your plea and we will schedule your sentencing for whatever, July 18th, whatever it is." Knowing what, like if the judge went, "I'm going to sentence you to the DP anyway," he could withdraw his plea, even though he's given his plea. That's possible. At least it is here in Pennsylvania. I've watched it happen. Not in a murder case, but I'm just, yeah. His guilty plea is not set in stone until the plea has been accepted, the sentence has been passed down. And that's it. So there's an outside chance that, yeah. Tracy Winters, Gavin, the families can never get to see their kids again. With the deal, it now allows him to live, and his parents can still visit or be in contact for the rest of his miserable life. Not fair. Indeed. And this starts, I mean, guys, I think that we all are grown up enough to know that there is no justice in cases like these. Ever. There's never justice. No matter what happens. Bryan Kohberger, it's never fair. Ever. There's never justice. All we can do is get as close as we can. Yeah, these 4 families will never get to see their children again. They will never get to enjoy the grandchildren they would have had, the memories they would have had. The good times, the bad times, the struggles, the triumphs, the the moment of watching your child walk down the aisle, watching them accept a diploma, so many things. If Bryan Kohberger were sentenced to the DP and the sentence were passed, they still don't get any of those things. There is no justice in this world. There's just as close as we can get. So you're right, it's not fair, but it wouldn't be fair anyway. Wouldn't be fair anyway. And I'm not advocating for I think the plea deal is great. I'm not for that. I'm just saying, we all seek justice. Maybe that's the reason that we continue to seek it, because we never get it. And so we have to satiate that hunger for something that we will never we will never feel satisfied over. All right. Gavin, even with DP, there's a good chance that he would have sat on death row for years. So that cost is always there. Better they have some kind of accountability. He will never see the light of day. Carrie Emma's grandma. What if the judge denies the plea? Then it moves forward. Moves forward to jury selection, and off they go. That's what it does. Chava says TMZ reported yesterday that Xana Kernodle's family is furious, wants to fight proposed deal. They don't have standing to fight that. That sucks, but that is the case. Carol says, I think it's human nature to want to know why. Gavin, will we ever hear what exactly was in the plea deal? Yeah, that'll be filed with the court. We will know exactly what is in it. Jennifer says, Gavin and Fishies, everyone, of course, wants to know why, and that's information he will likely never share. He holds the details of the how and why, wanting control. Yeah, probably. Ellie, the thing is, they could require allocution and explanation. Yeah, they could. But how would you ever know that he's telling the truth when he says how and why things? Oh, very good point. Yes, Sherry, they could. But see the previous comment. How would you know if he's telling the truth? Yeah, one man's trash. Unfortunately, nothing will ever make this fair. Nothing. Indeed. Yes, the guilty plea eliminates appeals. Indeed. The families will never be made whole again. Indeed. Lisa says, Gavin, but his parents aren't the ones who are potentially guilty. He is. His parents, as much as any other may think otherwise, are victims of their son. That's I share that viewpoint. That's good. Maya Rodriguez Sorensen Esquire. This means that this is a person who is a lawyer, y'all, knows the law. Here we go. If every criminal case went to trial, the criminal justice system would grind to a halt, and counties would never have enough money to have that many prosecutors or public defenders. Yes, you are correct. It still sucks. I hate it still. You're not wrong. Maya, you are not wrong. I mean, I look at the workload that our public defenders and our prosecutors have in my home county, and they only like take to trial 3% of cases. That doesn't include all the like summary stuff. I'm talking about like high crimes and misdemeanors, right? That's and they're swamped. So yeah, that's a good point. Guys, can you think I need a new chair, okay? I need a new chair. This one is worn out and keeps sinking down. I need a new chair. If you can think of a good chair, send me a link. Um, yeah, Linda agrees that justice is an illusion. Yeah. Valerie, guilty plea eliminates appeals or possible not guilty verdict. Yep. Who would have thought Casey Anthony would be found not guilty? That's a good example. Let's talk disabilities. Gavin, is there any actual reason the judge could throw out the plea deal? I'm not aware of any. It all boils down to constitutionality. A judge just can't just go, I don't like this plea deal. I mean, sometimes it may come off that way, or sometimes it might be that way and they look for a reason not to, but there has to be a valid reason not to accept the plea deal. However, guys, also, the other part of that is that the judge does not have to honor the plea deal. I mean, let that sink in for a second, okay? The judge does not have to honor a plea deal. You pleaded guilty. What they do in those hearings, they say, okay, so Mr. Koberger, I understand you want to change your plea. So how do you plea? He would go, Your Honor, I plead guilty. Okay, why do you plead guilty? That'll be the next question. Because I did it. Okay. Do you understand that if I accept your plea, that I don't have to do what the prosecution has recommended to me? It's only a recommendation, and it's solely up to me how I sentence you. And then the defendant would go, Yes, I do understand that. Okay, then the judge would go, I accept your plea. I am entering it into the record, and I'm scheduling you for sentencing at this blah, 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 right? Okay, now at sentencing, the judge could go, um, You killed 4 people, and I don't think that there's any other way to make it, uh, mo- you know, I don't think there's any way where we can get close to justice on this if you are still alive. Therefore, I impose a sentence of death. We need to remember that not all, there are two parts to it. The judge can not accept the plea. Well, there are three. The judge can accept the plea and the recommendations, or the judge can accept the plea and not the recommendations. That's important to remember. Avery's Jungle, I do live in Pennsylvania. I don't think they can ever compel a defendant to speak of the crime, only if the defendant agrees to it. All right, see if they're... Autumn thinks I should get a good gaming chair. My problem is I don't want a high back. I don't want like a chair in my video. I need to do something though. BJM, a judge may reject a plea if he or she believes the punishment is either too lenient or too harsh. Well, sort of, as I just explained. What did Xana, Ethan's, and Maddie's family want? Ethan and Madison's family are supportive of the plea deal. I understand Xana's family is not supportive. Neither is Kaylee's. How likely is the judge to not accept the recommendations? It's very unlikely. Very unlikely. Hey guys, thanks for spending a little time with me tonight. Couple things, a couple programming notes, okay? Tomorrow, we again will be taking the Kohberger plea hearing live here on Ye Olde YouTube channel. Also, tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., it is the second part with Anna Sonoda, a licensed clinical social worker. We are talking about keeping our kiddos safe. If you have not seen the first part, that it was from last Wednesday, I suggest that you do, and then join us tomorrow night at 7:30 for the second part. I'm really looking forward to having Anna back on. This is the second out of 3 parts. Super important. This is a channel where we like to learn. We like to grow. And this is an opportunity for us as parents, as grandparents, as people who have children in our lives, nieces and nephews, people that we have guardianship over. We want to keep them safe. And Anna is teaching us how we might spot the signs of having a predator around our children. So please join us for that. I also understand that tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, Mr. Stearns has a hearing. I don't think that I can live stream that because of my work schedule, but we may talk about that here pretty soon as well. That's in the Madeline Soto case. So stick around if you like that kind of content. Last thing, a couple things. You can always reach out to me on my website, gavinfish.com. There's always a link down in the description below. If you click on this little envelope icon, that will take you over to a form where you can reach out to me. I do receive all these. I do go through all of them. I don't respond to most, but I go through them all. So if there's anything you want to send my way, send it that way. And then this little fishy icon up in the corner, that will take you over to the fish tank, which is where we hang out on Facebook. So if that's your thing, you've got an open invitation to join us there. See if there are a couple of other things that has come on in. Okay. Nope, we're good. All right, guys. With that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.